All right, 3, 2. All right, so Florida Atlantic for Alfred Morris. You grew up in Florida. Was there any place to go besides Florida Atlantic?
Yes and no. Honestly, I had a lot of bigger schools looking at me. Actually, it was something not many people know about me. I was actually a linebacker that just happened to play running back.
I remember reading about your high school prowess. Yeah, you had a million tackles and sacks, and did you like that better?
I could never choose. I like both of them, but there was games I didn't even play running back. I only played linebacker. So I was a starting linebacker, and at times I would play, running back as needed, but usually it was a need for it. So
when you went to Florida Atlantic, you thought you were going as a linebacker?
No, I didn't. I actually went as a fullback, which was another interesting fact. And the only reason I accepted, because I'm like, I'm not a fullback, is because the way they use it, fullback. They showed me film. They talked about it. The fullback was in a single back set at times in the backfield. He's basically another running back. Okay. Just at times he would have to block. So I started doing that. And I redshirted my first year, and then I played special teams my redshirt freshman year, and then my redshirt sophomore year, my coach said, I'm going to give you an opportunity to play running back. So he was like, I don't know when it's going to come. Just be ready, and I'm like, okay. So it came really early, and we had a scrimmage, and I had 10 carries and 150 yards. So
and we were off.
And that was off.
We were off. Awesome. Okay, so you had 3. Your first year at Florida Atlantic, you didn't play much. Then your sophomore year, you got in, had a kicking year, right? Mm-hmm. Sophomore, junior, senior, really good years, and you get picked in the 6th round by the Washington Redskins.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember briefly draft day? Did you think you were going to get drafted? Do you think you were going to go earlier or later? And how did you feel about Washington?
I mean, I wanted to go a lot higher, and I was like, I'm going higher, I'm going to be, whatever. But any athlete, any competitor is going to, of course, I'm better than what, my draft selection said. So unless you go first round, first pick, then that's kind of speaks for itself. But, yeah, so I as it progressed, the days, I started to prepare to be undrafted. And I was okay with that, because I knew I was going to have opportunity in the NFL somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I was preparing to go undrafted, pacing the floor, in watching TV, out watching, back on the car porch, just trying to relax my mind, not stress out, and then getting the call to Washington. And they said, hey, Alfred Morris. I'm like, yes. And he was like, it's Washington Redskins. Give me a second. I'm going to put Coach Mike Shanahan on the phone. And he's like, hey, Alfred, he was like, we're drafting you, 6th round, 107-30 pick, excited to have you, yada, yada. And I was just like, oh, weight was just lifted off my shoulders. So it was an amazing feeling. And I was excited about Washington. That actually was my favorite team. So I got to play with my favorite team.
Okay. Okay. Why is that?
So I grew up watching we didn't get many teams, but I used to watch Tampa a lot, and I used to love the Buccaneers. And then before they won the Super Bowl, and after they won the Super Bowl a little bit, and then a lot of the guys I liked, kind of trades, retired, things like that. So I took a liking to Clinton Portis when his rookie year, him and what was the guy from the Chiefs who wore 31? I can't think of his name. Priest Holmes. They had a Russian battle that year. Boy. It was an amazing year, so I really took to Clinton Portis, and so I started liking the Broncos, and they traded him after that year to the Washington Redskins. And I was like, what the heck, why you trade this good player? So that's how I became Washington Redskins, because Clinton Portis.
I see.
Redskins.
Okay, so that's awesome. So you get drafted by your team. Shanahan, you have, if you've looked him up or researched him, Shanahan's sort of an offensive genius guy. This stuff might work. Yeah. And then RG3.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's going to work pretty good.
Yeah.
and it was an amazing year. I mean, you're Rookie of the Year, except that your quarterback wins it.
Exactly. And I still say I was snubbed, no offense to it, Robert or any other. Because they were expected. He was a first-round draft pick. Russell was 3rd or 4th round. They were expected to do this. I wouldn't even expect it to make the team. So I exceeded all expectations for a 6th-round draft pick. Sure. And I think I should have been the Rookie of the Year. But it does come down to popularity contest at times, and that's okay. So
quarterbacks in this league, right? Quarterbacks in this league, no doubt about it. Okay, so somewhere along the line in your college career, you need an automobile. Mm-hmm. You are a Christian. You go to church. Yes, you're one of 7 boys in your family. So I imagine church was a big part of the entire family's history.
It was. It was a big deal. And that's something that stuck with me in going to college. My mom was... She's like, if we have time to do, whatever, we have time to go to church. So faithfully, Wednesday and Sunday, we would always go to church, and then we have special events and things we would go though. Sometimes it's hit or miss, but usually Wednesday night service and Sunday morning service, we were always there. Whether no matter how late you stayed up, no matter what you did, that Saturday was a football game, doesn't matter. So when I went to college, it was the same way. I was like, if I have time to go out to a party, if I have time to go, bowl and do all these things, I have time to I should have given my time to God. Whether it's one day, whatever, it doesn't matter. I should make make that a priority, and that started from being at home, and just mom been really strict with that. It's like, we're going to church, we're going to serve the Lord.
Becomes a part of you. Now it's a part of you. You can't be not a part of you.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So, and then, but the way me and my brothers kind of explain it, God was our mom's God. I was fortunate enough to grow up with both mom and dad in the house. My dad wasn't really a believer, what they say, they unevenly yoked in a sense. But when I went to college, he became my younger brother's like, man, daddy's reading his Bible. He's going to. I'm like, our dad? He's like, yes. I was like, shut the front door. And they was like, he's going. I'm like, if they can change, if God can change that man's heart, he can change anyone's heart, And not that my dad was a hard man at all. He loved us, but my dad told me, the first time he told me he loved me, I was in college. And it blew. I'm like, hold on, you what? He said, I love you. And I was like, I love you too. But my dad didn't. He grew up. His dad was not in his house, not in the home. He's like kind of Rolling Stone type deal. He didn't have a father figure, because he could have chose the same path his dad did, but he chose not to. He chose to be there for his kids. He chose to support them in any and every way he can. But he just didn't know how to show affection. But when he found the love of God, when Jesus encountered him, he's so much more affectionate now. I always knew my dad loved me. He always, took care of us, and he was always there. I mean, he frowned the times he did go to church, and now he smiles. He loves. He's serving in the church. It's been such a change, a transformation, really, in his life, and it's all to the glory of God.
That's awesome, and a transformation, almost like a gift for you, right?
It was.
You knew him. He loved you. Yeah. He was always there. He was solid, but now all of a sudden you get more of a friend aspect of it too.
More affection as well, and I think more guys need to be affectionate.
I agree.
And that's some things we don't talk about. But if we had more guys who showed affection, this world wouldn't be as harsh as it is. I 100% believe that.
I agree.
And now I have a son, and I love him. I tell him I love him. I give him kisses. Things like that. I wrestle and I play with him. At the same time, though, I let him know that I love him and I'm here for him and I care for him. I show him affection so that he knows it's okay for men to show affection, because we need men to be able to show affection to our daughters, to our sons, to the world around us. This world would be a better place if we can be affectionate.
Totally agree. Ask that kid if I make him hug me all the time. All the time. All the time.
All the time.
Absolutely.
It matters.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's important. It's funny. We have new people in the family, like I'm getting a new son-in-law and whatever, and if I forget to give him a hug when he comes over, then he's a little hurt. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, So he's never had it. So now that he has it, he wants it.
We need it.
Absolutely. Okay, so you're in college. Everybody in college needs the independence of an automobile. Yes. How did the pastor and your conversation come about where you got your 1991 Mazda RX-6? Correct?
626.
626. Got it. Okay.
Mazda 626. Well, his son, first of all, walked him to FAU, so I got to know him like that. And he's like, hey, my dad's starting a church. You want to come? So I'm like, sure, why not? So I checked it out. I enjoyed it. He was actually a really big mentor in my life and taught me so many things about just the things of the Lord and just being a man of God and things like that, and I forever treasure that and I appreciate it. So after the years, he knew that his son would always come pick me up, or someone would come pick me up to go to church, because that's way too far to walk or ride a bike, so which is my normal transportation. So eventually they knew I had a need for a car, and I would pray all the time, like, Lord, I'm just tired of depending on other people. I'm tired of this. I need a car. I need something dependable. I need to be able to get to point A to point B when I need to, instead of depending on someone else, because they tend to fail me every time, so so he kind of came along. He was like, hey, I have this car, it's been sitting up, and he was like, would you like it? And I kind of looked at him like, this car's a piece of crap, like, what am I gonna do with that? But then I was reminded of my prayer in that moment that I've been praying for you, and I was like, you know what, no, it's not much, but it's gonna be mine. I was like, I'll take it. And I was like, I'll give you like $500, because I was working at the time as well. This was like a couple years after I was attending the church. I didn't get it to the summer before my senior year is when I received the car, and he was like, I was like, I can, I'll save up a couple money, and I'll pay you $500 for it. So he's like, nope, $2. And I was like, $2? It's like, there's no way. Let me pay you at least like $500. He's like, $2, take it or leave it. I was like, take it. I was like, fine. So I paid $2 for it, and it wasn't many taxes when I went and got the title exchanged to my name. Right. So it probably was like $2. It was kind of weird. And when I look back, I think that was wisdom as well, because instead of giving me a car, NCAA rules and things like that, it can be a pain.
It's an official purchase.
Yeah, so I actually paid for this car, and I thank him for that. Instead of just gifting it to me, I really wish I would have been able to pay more, but I'm not complaining in hindsight, because I'm like, this $2 car, and it's been the most talked about thing in my career.
Isn't it weird? But you know, you're an
mind.
Emotional guy, and so people hear you say, you know, you named it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what'd you name it?
The Bentley.
The Bentley.
And that was a funny story too. One of my younger teammates, when I first got it, because we had to put some money into it to get it running because it's been sitting up for a while. I had a new gas tank, things like that. So when I kind of went by the athletic complex, they kind of like got a couple guys like, what was that? So then I came up and I walked in, and they was like, that was you in that piece of junk? I was like, oh, that Bentley? I was like, yeah, I'd be jealous too. And they just like crack up laughing. I like that, the Bentley. So it stuck, you know, so it became the Bentley. And it is my Bentley. It's not a Bentley, it's the Bentley.
So at some point, this mode of transportation, the Bentley, began to be important to you. You liked it. Good things happened in it. Good things happened in your life in it, and all of a sudden, as we normally do, you tie good things to things that are around you, even automobiles. Is that what happened? Because I've read you talking about it, and when it eventually went in, which I want to get to, you know, you were worried about it feeling different.
Yeah, and it is. I took ownership. It became mine, and it had a dimple on the back right side. I used to like, oh, it's like a little dimple. It's cute, you know, like
not a dent.
So,
a dimple.
Yeah, not a dent, it's a dimple. You know, it's a beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So I did take ownership, and I was just really appreciative. That's where all the emotions come from, because I walked so many times, I rode bikes so many times. You know, it was just such a grind to finally get an answered prayer. And a lot of times we get prayers answered. We pray to God. Say, I use this analogy, like I pray for, you know, a green 4-door car, and He gives us a 2-door blue car, and we're like, that's not the answer to my prayers. But we miss out on God's blessing because it doesn't look the way we think it should look. But God knows He'll give us way better than we ever could. And that goes back to that. This $2 car is the most talked about topic of my career, which is crazy. And it's like, people still bring you still. I'm like, yes, I still drive that car. It's
all right. Really so when did Mazda get a hold of you? You didn't get a hold of them. I know it didn't happen that way. So Mazda, you had your unbelievable rookie year, and the Redskins went and made the playoffs for the first time in years. And then Mazda, they heard the story and reached out to you.
Yeah, they reached out. My marketing guy at the time, with the agency I was with, they kind of connected, and they reached out and said they wanted to do something. It was actually the DC area Mazda. It wasn't corporate Mazda. It was the DC area Mazda. A lot of them teamed together, and they collectively put quite a bit of money into my car. They refurbished what they could. They got new what they could get new. It's not like a classic, you know, so it's not like you can get brand new parts. It's not manufacturing. So what they could get new, they did. What they couldn't, they refurbished it, so as close as new as possible. Sure. So, and they added some upgrades. They my seats became leather. They were cloth before. My roof, actually, I was giving someone a ride, and I threw their bike in the back seat, and then they kind of, my fault, but I ripped the roof lining.
So it hangs down.
It used to. Yeah,
I had a Pontiac Catalina, and the roof lining hung down.
So they redid the roof. They put a. I didn't have a CD player. I used to put my music on speaker, and I just sit it in the middle and just play music. That was my CD player. So they put like a CD player, Bluetooth, back reverse camera. They had some nice upgrades to it. That leather was really nice, and the paint job is still really nice. It's a really good job.
But they showed it to you. Did you see it, or did you just see pictures of it when it was basically gutted out, and you were like, whoa?
The only picture I saw, they stripped it down to the frame.
To the metal.
It was just the frame, and I was like, oh, they are really redoing this car. So
did it worry you a little bit?
No, it didn't. I actually was really excited to see what the finished product was going to be like, and I was more worried about, will it be the same car? You know, will it have the same feel? And it did. And I really wanted, I was hard pressed to, I was like, I want to be like, just leave the dent, please. But I was like, no, I don't want to. So many people have put in so many hours of time and effort into this car that I don't want to kind of take away from their work. So I'm going to choose to, like, you know what, it's okay. I enjoyed the dimple. It's time for the dimple to go.
People doing something for you, exactly. And they have this picture in their mind of how great they want it to be for you. Exactly. Leaving a dent in the right rear side would not be that picture.
You know, if people get creative, I don't want to kind of hinder their creativity, you know, in a sense. But it's like, just, you can go. But when I got the car, I felt the same, still feels the same. I still love it, and I appreciate it. And it's been amazing. It still gets me from point A to point B. And I don't take short trips. I've put this thing on the road. Even before then, like, I drove it from my college Boca back to Pensacola, which was probably like a 10-hour drive or so, and then I went from Pensacola all the way up to Ashburn,
You're
Virginia.
a driver. I'm a driver too.
Yeah, and it was 17 hours, you know, probably 700-800 miles. I can't remember how far it was, but 17 hours. So I've put a lot of miles on this car, but she's still young. She's only like 156K, 157. So that's still really, really young, and it sat up for a long time, and that's why it still has lower mileage. So,
any ideas that your children may end up with this car? And has anyone else come to you and said, you want a real Bentley or anything like that? Has that happened yet?
No real Bentleys. That wouldn't even be me. That's not fitting, you know. So no, but I do want my kids to drive. My wife thinks otherwise. She's like, he needs to have something safer, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, oh, my goodness. But at the very least, I at least want them to learn to drive using my car. It's a stick shift. It's a manual. So I feel like that's kind of almost like a lost art. And I want them to be able to, like, no matter what, be able to drive a manual as well as automatic. So even if they don't drive it as their car per se, I still want them to be able to learn. I'm going to teach them how to drive using that car.
I think that's cool too, because to drive a manual too, you got to be paying attention. And there's too many of our kids who are driving their cars and aren't paying attention. But if you got a hand on the steering wheel, a hand on the stick, 2 feet working at the bottom, you're driving.
It's fun. It changes your life. Like, I sometimes feel like speed racer because I'm like, and I actually taught myself how to drive stick. So.
Oh, did you? Because that's not easy.
So my pastor's son is Gregory Fashaw at the time, and his son actually is Gregory Fashaw as well. He was supposed to teach me, so I got tired of waiting on him. I was like, I need to get places, so I got tired of waiting on him to come teach me how to drive. So I went on YouTube. I watched a couple of videos how to like kind of do it, and I literally just put my hazard lights on, and I drove from my apartment at the time to this kind of medical complex. It had a hospital in the back, but in the front had a pretty big parking lot. And it was a Saturday, and all the offices were closed, so I had an open parking lot. I was running stop signs and everything in the parking lot, of course, so I can learn how to get. The hardest part was getting out of first gear, getting used to simultaneously like giving it gas while easing off the clutch.
And especially get on that hill. Did you practice on any hills? Right? My dad taught me, and he's like, my dad was like, well, we just hit all 3 cars behind us. There was a time when he was teaching me. He's like, there's no way you're my son. He's like, you're awful at this, and I'm great at this. I think that's it. I think that's awesome. That's all I really wanted. Awesome. Yeah, that's it. I think you're fantastic.
Not a problem. Thank you.
So appreciate the time, and I will find you, and I will show you the finished product of this.
Okay.
We will. It's a podcast, but it's not like just kicking it back and forth.
Yeah.
We're going to take it and edit it, and we'll sort of go from Florida Atlantic to the Redskins to getting the car to all the things that are important to you. Piece it together, and at the end.